Good afternoon, fellow Zucoin holders. Welcome to the show. Dr. Zoo is with you today. Magnificent Thursday afternoon, 28th of May, 2026. And we're going to plough through the discussions as we do every Monday and Thursday. Those that are new to the show, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard to all those coming on from all around the world now, which is fantastic. Our US of A people, yes, you are front and center again. Let's just make sure that they know what we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go for them.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
Yes, people, we are starting engines big time. Like the little sleepers, we like the big bears in the cave, Zucoins and SplitChain, Zucaz, of course, that little sister sleeper that's going to be a big powerhouse, and Zootopia. So don't you panic, people. The others are going to get left behind, and you can tell that by what is coming, as you can see. Good to go, WA. Fantastic. Our people up there in the Mekong, welcome aboard, everybody up there. We know you listen, you love the show, so keep looking after those elephants for us, because that's at least one part of the world that's getting looked after and not under threat by anything else. Appreciate that. We know who you are. Our Bahamian people, we've been working behind the scenes. It's going to explode over there. I did see, just so that the Bahamians are well aware, that our friends in Bermuda are trying to accelerate USDC as part of their staple coin across the entire country, which is phenomenal, because that just puts us in box seat with things to come behind the scenes. Now, lots of little updates to start the show. Firstly, those with marital problems, we can't help you. We cannot help you. Just understand the general rules. We had discussions on this from an undisclosed party today, and he's now preparing for losing 90% of his assets. That's how it is. Just brace yourself, but you can do some planning around that. Not much Dr. Zoo can help with that one. We'll move on. Now, we got an email, which was a bit scary, because you look at the email that comes in, you think, oh my God, here we go. Already, 27th of May at 12:42 p.m. from AUSTRAC. We thought, oh, shoot, what is going on here? But it's a good one. It's okay. It's not we've got any green lights or anything, but they are certainly, as per I said earlier about this organisation, a very friendly, workable government body for a change that wants to assist and help. And I will say the email was, it took a bit of work, because some of the fields that they do in their format, which is the PDF structures that they have, they required us to put in play basically some attachments, or supplementary attachments to the application, which is fine. And it was nothing to get scary about. Dr. Zoo was busy and pumped out that response on the same day, the 27th of May, 2026, basically a very large schedule that was with relating to products and services section under the AML CTF program, because of limitations on their character limits they had, which wasn't clear in the document, as you can see that yourselves. So, and the AML policy section, questions 1 and 2, and then there was a little bit on questions 1, 8, 10, 13, and 14 in terms of that. Nothing scary, people, but that has gone back. And as you can tell, what was good about it is that there is a group of people in AUSTRAC looking at our very application for registration. The only other little tweaky bit that was in there, which is fantastic, because it shows you how they're drilling down into it. And question on the board there is, does that mean the 90 days reset? I don't think it does in this instance, because it's mainly to do with the, it's not additional information, it's just information that was provided from the 12th of May. But again, the reset in relation to that, that's just a provision that gives them a bit of time. But if you know, in terms of all the information and the attachments and the way the Zootopia works, it could very well be that we get a quicker response than a later response. So we just got to take our time and respond immediately as we have done as and when AUSTRAC wants that to happen in. And one of the other things on the form was that there was a pickup in the enrolment form that the suburb was not consistent between the two forms. Don't know how that happened, but that's in place now. So, yeah, welcome aboard, Mekong. Fantastic. Good to hear you guys up there. Cheerio, all those. It'll be the most extraordinary concept of seeing people with their apps, their phones, and trading and transacting with Zucoins. We'll get some visuals of that down the road. It'll be a sensational to see you guys on elephants and transacting between each other as you're crossing the Mekong River. How good would that be? How good would that be that this product is already working its way through the jungles of the Mekong? Dr. Zoo will get up there one day for sure, and no doubt go for a bit of a wander and enjoy the hospitality from all our wonderful friends up there. Now back to the Bahamas quick. So that's the update on the, just giving you the insight. We are, and they have got a group of people looking at it, which is fantastic. And let's just get excited about that, because whichever way it goes, we shall get a response as to, do we need to be registered or do we not need to be registered? Either way, you know, we're starting to swing into the gear about being registered, even though it costs Dr. Zoo a bit extra of the, there's less inheritance for Dr. Zoo's kids, basically. But that's okay. We'll pick that up on the hurdy-gurdy. And they say what comes around goes around. And certainly what can come around is it's just a few extra ticks upwards if in the Zucoin price, where Dr. Zoo's budgeting on at least $1,000 US. Has said that from day one. That's not financial advice. That's just what Dr. Zoo thinks, based on the quantity theory of money. Mentioned that many times before, and that formula has been put to great use by our great friends in WA. And you know who you are in WA. You are a legend with the amount of stuff that you pick up over there with your team of people. And don't forget, we've got some incredible people sending stuff through from Queensland, Victoria. Oh, God help us from Victoria. Anyway, you stay tuned in Victoria. You'll be able to escape at some stage. You'll be able to cross the great mighty Murray River, not as powerful as the Mekong, but certainly cross that river and get the hell out of there before it all continues to go pear-shaped. Although we did see, for those around the world that don't know, we have some extraordinary characters running both the federal government here in Australia and also at state level. And I got to say that, Jacinda Allen, for all the negativeness that is out and about, Dr. Zoo saw her in a post the other day, and she was doing some door knocking to share the wisdoms of what and the virtues of what she's done for Victoria, aside from the $200 billion debt and everything else that's lost, and land tax increases and businesses closing and all that, and the CFMUA or U or E or whatever it's called with $15 billion, all those wonderful things. She still had the balls to go out and meet people and door knock on their front doors to share those virtues with them, even though she copped the absolute pizzling. So look, you got to hand it to her. She has got, a great constitution to be able to even think about going out at night time or during the day. And there she is, despite the machetes that have been collected and the fire bombings that are happening. There you go. Now let's get on to the main couple of topics today. We have had people, USA. Look, someone's mentioned, what about the USA? I mentioned the USA because USA is going to play a big role in your wealth. The US of A. Very big percentage of the world's population are into crypto in the US of A. They have really started to fire up on all cylinders, mainly as a result of the workings of the Trump administration, whether you like him or not, whether you like Trump or not. What a character. He's actually a bit of a comedian when you think about some of the commentary he makes. Extraordinary. You've got to have a chuckle to yourself. And it's a lot of funny things come out of the States. I was just talking the other day, just as an aside, people, there's one of the funny funny little videos I love, which is amazing. It's in Wolf of Wall Street. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's so out there that you think it couldn't possibly be real. But I've got to tell you, Dr. Zoo has actually met Jordan Belfort, who is the movie is based on his life, which is really one screwed up life in the early days there. And we've got a photo with Dr. Zoo and him. And that's the in the movie, that role has been played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And there's a fantastic scene where they're all getting excited. They're on the boat. They're all cheering and carrying on. And then next thing, you've got the boat's in massive swells and looks like it's going to sink. In fact, I think it did sink in the Mediterranean. And look, there's a scene with Leonardo coming in and saying, "What the F and hell's going on?" It's quite funny. If you haven't seen it, put it in, because it's quite a good meme that's been used, which is relevant because it's what the analogy applies to the current Labor government here in Australia. You know, back in January, we were sort of comfortable with things, and next thing, we now see all these extraordinary changes happening. That big boat of the Labor Party is not looking too bright. I think they're going to pass that legislation, though. I haven't seen the news. If anyone's got any news on that, yes, divine settler psychopath. You're quite right. If you're referring to you could be referring to Dr. Zoo, maybe, but maybe you're referring to Jordan Belfort in that regard there. But either way, yes, except someone's a psychopath. Not sure on that one. But as I understand, if anybody's got news today, keep an eye on thing. Oh, Trump. All right, divine settler, Trump, psychopath. Yep. Yes, well, that could be right too. But, you know, there's been, he's kept us all busy and keeping us all on our toes. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to who's got more nuclear warheads than who else. And if Trumpy's got those nuclear warheads, I'm backing him, because the last thing we need is that little fruitcake app there in North Korea, Ung Jong Jung, and he starts to release a few we're going to need to fire back with. So I'll stick to those that have the positioning with the greatest number of nuclear warheads, and I'll stay on Trumpy's side. You might pick Putin or someone else, but there you go. And China, China. You could pick China. They're not too bad in China. China is sort of a mini capitalist within a socialistic regime, which is one of the most extraordinary concepts on the planet. But somehow it all pulls together and works, and people get on, and they love the Chinese. They're great people. We had business up in Beijing for 6 years. And the most important lesson out of China, people, is that you don't go for the whole cake. You get a little bit, and you'd be happy with the little bit of cake you got, because I'll take that off you as well. You just got to relax. Don't worry about the big picture cake. Just take your little slice that you get, and it's a bit like when you go to a wedding. They cut the cake up, and then you get a little plate and a piece of the wedding cake. That's about what it's like to deal with China. Now, before I got distracted, USA. USA is crucial. USA will have some big stuff happening, both in terms of our mass marketing up there. Some of the stuff that we haven't stopped working behind the scenes, right? We've got some stuff that I won't share today, but we do have some really cool businesses looking at us now. And it's funny how it takes a bit of time, doesn't it? The penny drops, and all of a sudden, oh, gee, that's a good idea. Oh, maybe Zucoins does do what it says and works. Well, it's getting even stronger and stronger. But the laws and regulations in the state are very, very conducive to the structure of Zucoins. And that's why we don't have any fears about the SEC over there. If we had Biden up there, who didn't know what was Arthur or Martha, then the whole world of crypto would be in a lot of trouble. So from that perspective, that's why we pay homage to the great Trump and the laws that have come in play, the changes at the SEC. Because people, once you start going down this road and you're not ready for the technology you've got, the firepower and what you can do and how you structure it, and the legal compliance, which costs bucket loads of money, then you can forget about marketing and you can forget about everything else. It just will not and cannot make sense, because you are not in a strong position as to the product you pushed out there, and you'll hit a brick wall real quick. We are very comfortable with how that's going to move itself way through, and especially now, even just with this AUSTRAC stuff, it's not a biggie either way. We're very comfortable with that and how that's going to work with the rollout. Now, on the other front, the boys are making some progress on this deep links while we've been working and beavering away at things. I'm feeling much more confident about that. We had a funny today, actually. We had a special little gathering today. We decided to celebrate a little bit, not in a big way. We weren't getting on the G&Ts and having the beers and things, but we just had at Guru's over there, the great friends of ours, who also has some fantastic contacts with his brother by another mother, Harry. Welcome aboard, Harry and Guru. And that's our Indian connections there, which has got some great legs as well. It only takes a small little spark to kick off a big bushfire, and imagine raging through India with our clients over there. That'll be massive. But we had a little bit of a gathering today just to reflect upon where we're at and how we're finally ahead of the game, actually. And there was Pete, his wonderful dog Luna, and Robbie. That's, for those who don't know, Robert, the CTO. Unbelievable. I've had some incredible chats in the last few days with Rob about a whole range of topics. And my goodness, I tell you, if they can extract his brain, put it in a jar, and put some wires into it and throw that back into AI, unbelievable. I learned a lot in the last few days about quantum computing, AI. That's all, I'll probably have to get my own little fluffy pillow out and have a bit of a rest later on, because it's just overload in the brain as a result of that. But there you go. And the main purpose there was to just reflect on the successes of all of the bits that have come together, how that fits in with the strength of the application with AUSTRAC, of course, because of the tie-in with Zootopia, and some of these extra tweaks that we're really refining. You're going to see a lot more tweaks from Robert's perspective coming through. And in light of that, he pumped out a bit of an update. Now, it's a long update. It's worth taking the time to read, all right? Don't make excuses. You don't know what's going on. You need to read it. That is on myzucoins.org, and it is giving an update in relation to, from his perspective, of additional stuff that's coming, which really does refine the way in which we lock in our merchants from around the world for what they want to achieve with more security in terms of transactions, well beyond stuff that we're doing with Zootopia, because there's going to come a day where we want the ultimate dream of everybody being able to say, gee, I've just switched on the Zucoins payment button and I'll accept Zucoins or fractions at prevailing market prices for all sorts of goods and services, which is really the push that'll come in from the Zukaz perspective, zukaz.com. And that recent article then delves into quantum computing. Now, it's an interesting topic. So I said to the boys today, look, what I'll do is I'll get my mate, AI, which Robert's been having some fun with AI on a couple of other fronts. And that's it's quite amusing actually to see the guys and the guns at Elon Musk there with Grok and ChatGPT trying to pitch themselves against Robert's brain. They're not quite there yet. They're not quite there yet, people. So, Rob is still ahead of the curve. But it's a difficult subject to get around, the old quantum, but it's going to have some major impact. So I just want to resend out, which we'll do shortly. Pete will be onto it, and that is the article that Rob produced, which is, as I said, it is lengthy. It takes a bit to get your head around. And I've just refined it a little bit with links to that article to put some common perspective, I guess, if you like, for all of us to have a look at, which will be coming out in Article 33, called The Quantum Nightmare, and why you need to be ready. We're going to be ready. Zucoins and SplitChain will be ready. You can see that by the article and what Rob's been beavering away behind the scenes and where that is going to come out. in this quarter 4 of 2026. And that'll give us an extraordinary edge while everybody's scrambling for lifeboats. Now, this is really an interesting time for us because we've been mapping this out, Rob has, for a couple of years, and we're going to take advantage of it because you're going to have the most extraordinary crypto product. It's got all of the benefits for consumers and protections we can do. It's got the instantaneous transferability, the scalability, and the firepower that allows us to put ourselves in box seat for utility with merchants. Unbelievable stuff, right? That there's no question of where that's heading, and the marketing side huge because you can easily rest assured, little things like this Apple thing recently. We'll get through that, but that's just about giving the over 50s a chance to get things sorted. In fact, we bumped into a bloke down the street at the coffee, and that was another issue that come up, and he was fiddling around with it. But you overcome that, and all of a sudden you're maximising that generation, which has more money than the young ones. There you go. Let's just put it right out there. If you're over 50, it's presumed, unless Albo gets hold of it and gets his grubby hands, then if he gets his hands on it, then it'll go bloody nowhere. But there you go. Let's just work on those over that age. So, in a quick roundabout, before you even think about getting this update of Article 33, which brings into play what is the essence of Robert's content of the myzucoins.org article that he's got, I can assure you that quantum computing, people, is moving from some science fiction bad story into a real engineering and financial risk. Now, let's just put this on the table. Dr. Zoo, he feels like Nostradamus sometimes, been sharing a lot of stuff which is on record, on file, and can be looked at the dates of which these things are talked about. And quantum is the next big baby of which we will be ready, I can assure you. But today's banking systems, the payment networks, crypto wallets, exchanges, and blockchains, and we're going to hone in on Bitcoin here in a minute, rely on cryptography that was designed before any large-scale quantum computers even existed, and now they're arriving. We get distracted with AI. AI, big Colossus 1 and 2 server farms, and Elon's having a great time, and OpenAI and Chat, GPT, and Grok, and Gemini, and all those wonderful things. But we forget the big sleeper that's going to come out and bite people on the arse, and that's called quantum computing. And that's been a very high level focus, particularly of governments around the world that are preparing themselves for what's coming. And if you're not ready, you can forget about even thinking about being wealthy. Now, it's not that the risk is tomorrow morning, where every bank account or Bitcoin wallet will be emptied tomorrow. But we all know about preparing for things down the road, no matter where you are. And the problem is that the financial systems could take years to upgrade, while attackers and the government and you think the criminal groups have had some fun with the FBI the other day? I think about that a lot. We talked about the FBI creating its own coin and thought this is a genius idea to snavel these and ensnare these or entrap these criminals, and they caught 18 wombats. Probably half of them can't even be indicted because they're in other countries. But the biggest loser was the retail, because the FBI forgot to tell the general public that you're going to get your ass in a sling and lose your 400 million or plus millions of dollars. Right? And now there's litigation. So that's where things can go truly pear-shaped. Now, if you think that criminals are having a great time now, and especially Ung Dong Dung with his missiles, and he's got the best hacking team in the world, can you imagine the fun they're going to have with quantum computing and playing with all this data? Because what they're doing now, people, it's what they call harvest now and decrypt later. They're stealing all the old encryption stuff, right? Parking it, getting ready, wait for the firepower to come out of quantum, and then they'll bust it open and knock all this stuff off, which is direct access to all the systems that rely on encryption. Now, that includes your money, your identity, your transaction history, private messaging, bank records, crypto holdings, and they're only as safe as the cryptography that protects them. And if that cryptography is not protectable because of quantum, you're stuffed. That'll be the end of it. That'll be it. Think about it. Now, post-quantum cryptography is the upgrade path. It uses mathematical protections designed to resist the quantum attacks, but it also creates a major problem. The systems as they're designed today, quantum safe signatures and keys, are much larger than today's signatures, which puts absolute pressure, which is what Robert's been saying. It's one thing to solve and try and solve the problem. Next thing, there's problems because they slows down everything. Now, if you think 7 transactions per second with Bitcoin's a problem, you wait till you sit there with the head up your ass and you're waiting for 2 days for Bitcoin to be processed. The train wreck is coming. A post-quantum Bitcoin future will require larger transactional data, new address types, wallet migration, protocol changes, and years of community coordination. If the demand stays the same, people, but transaction sizes increase sharply, users will face higher fees, longer confirmation times, and there will be some unbelievably incredible problems with migration. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, I've got a new cryptographic key. It doesn't happen that way. It's a bit like if you can get in your minds that crystal clear glass look of water with a little duck is swimming beautifully across it, but underneath he's paddling like shit. This is why you start to see things like cracks happening in Ethereum. Why did most of the biggest team of developers in Ethereum resign the other day? Now, Dr. Zoo's not into all this sort of, conspiracy stuff, but you got to wonder. There's that much to do. If they can't protect it and people start losing bucket loads of stuff, look out. Now, we've been more proactive. The vision of Robert many years ago to start to map this out and have things ready and the scalability capabilities and the ability to slot in and put in the necessary mechanisms to protect against quantum attack. We're very comfortable. I mean, we can't be lazy. Dr. Zoo and the team can't be complacent or lazy, but we can get a little smile and we can have our little happy coffee, which we did today, just to sort of celebrate and think, how good is this? Everybody else is going to be running around with their heads up their ass, and here we are having a nice coffee with Harry and Guru and just thinking about how good is it to plan and map this out while others are going to be struggling big time. So you'll need to see this article, get your heads on it, and I think you'll understand what it means to have where they're heading with the quantum computing and the firepower and what that means. Now, I won't go into any more on that because I think the article itself covers it, plus what Robert's got. It's fantastic. But I'll just leave on the quantum note, which you'll see in the article, is that most people, including you lot, it'd be pretty rare. There's some here that sort of understand here. Jolly Gem is talking about quantum computing will crack encryption, aka SSL, and so all secure comms online will be cracked. And that's a good indication that Jolly Gem knows what he's talking about. But let me say this. Most of us don't think about what goes on underneath because you tend to say, look, if something's happened, I'll ring up the bank and I'll get a refund. But there comes a time when that comes to a screeching halt because you can't keep bleeding to death shareholders of banks. Now, you think it's the bank, but it's actually someone else in your street, someone over 50 or 60, has spent all their years in retirement, put it into superannuation. Jimbo has snavelled it, 15% in and out and all the rest of it. But that person down the street has spent a lot of time earning money to put into a super fund that would end up putting it in shares in a bank. So all you're doing is go out, stick your head outside and think about the people in the street that might have shares that you're taking money from. You know, the concept of taking it from the bank is a nonsense. You're taking it from your fellow community consumer because doesn't matter what institutions own in institutions. The reality is, at the end of the day, it comes back to the poor schmuck that's in the street that's put it into a super fund or superannuation plan or whatever, or another bank that's got shares from other people, and they are the losers. Now, people generally think about whether their money arrives or whether their bank app works or whether their card is accepted or whether their crypto wallet is safe and whether their private information stays safe. Now, quantum risks all of that. All of that. And they call them legacy systems. If a bank's got a process that it uses at the back end, a centralized way in which it processes or issues these things out, you can rest assured the current encryption systems will not stop what's coming. As I said, it might be tomorrow, might be in the Christmas time, it might be another, they're talking about 2028, 2029, but it's coming. Now, for everyday people, and I'm putting everybody here because it affects whether you're in the Mekong or whether you're in Bahamas, whether you're in our great US of A or whether you're in France and, the Maldives, and we've got some fantastic people in Fiji. Welcome aboard, Fiji, Melbourne, Sydney, you name it. It doesn't matter where you are. If you don't have the systems and financial institutions preparing now or even talking about it, because they're distracting you with AI, they're distracting you with going to Mars. I haven't talked about that yet, but that's another one that I'll get excited about. I might leave that for Monday, the SpaceX IPO, people, because that is one of the most extraordinary documents Dr. Zhu has seen. Look, I don't want to give away too much in terms of age, but Dr. Zhu's not getting any younger, and he had a great time in the 80s. Shares, floats, IPOs, regulators, all the rest of it. And then along comes this thing called SpaceX IPO. We talked about it today, actually. And there is some defense of the great Elon, don't get me wrong. He's a genius in what he does, but he's even more a genius in how he can move money around and take it from people on some unbelievable multiples that are unheard of, that must border on just outright ripping you off. Because you put $500 into SpaceX, let me tell you, you're going to get a market cap of $1.5 trillion, and you're going to have to go to $3 trillion. And I don't know how many spaceships there are to get to Mars, but I don't think there'll be big queues lining up like we do, waiting for the railway line to go from Sydney to Gosford. And the cost, who knows? But the projections come from other divisions within that IPO, not from wanting to sit out in Mars or collect, bits and pieces from the moon and bring back some Earth. And by the way, satellites last 5 years roughly, and then they're stuffed. I don't know where the hell they go, but they floating out there somewhere. So there is no actual percentage profit return despite the numbers that are using Starlink. Yes, it's good revenue streams because it's in volumes, but B, the depreciation on the satellites is horrendous. Radiation burns a hole in your ass. When they're looking at, countermeasures to all that, and it's some genius coming up with some stuff, but at the end of the day, we talked about this with comparing with other crypto. $500 into SpaceX, you need to double that from a $1.5 trillion cap to a $3 trillion cap to go for your $500 to be worth $1,000. So you got $500. You didn't put it on a horse. You still got the $500, and you hope it goes to 1,000. You need the value of that total business to jump to $3 trillion. Now, based on the modeling of how many people on the planet, mass marketing, all the rest of it, quantity theory of money, the last possible crypto, or even on that, the valuation modeling we talk about with SpaceX, Zucoins, you have greater chance of, as we've said in many a modeling before with Dr. Zhu, not giving financial advice, you could blow it up your ass, by the way, at the same time. But the $500 could turn into a millionaire status because of the structure of Zucoins and the utility and what it does to the masses on planet Earth. Not trying to become an intergalactic source of revenue trading value proposition on Mars. I mean, Dr. Zoo must be getting old. Maybe I saw too many sci-fi movies when he was younger. But let me tell you, the last place in the entire galaxy Dr. Zoo wants to be broadcasting from is on a Thursday afternoon to our great friends in the Mekong, enjoying the lush environment and the river, patting the elephants, is sitting out there with an oxygen tank on in Mars. There is zero interest in going to Mars. There's nothing better than over there with Wayne and Parrish in the Bahamas, sitting by the pool with a nice one of those Signal Frog green drinks, or a pina colada, or a beer, or a nice, scotch on the rocks, looking out at the ocean of the Bahamas. 25 degrees. Who in God's right name would want to sit on Mars? So the modelling doesn't make sense. But anyway, look, we'll talk about more of the IPO in very, very fine detail, because the losses are staggering. The billions that have been lost since it started, the money that they're making, the insiders on it, is absolutely mind-blowing. And here we have this humble little coin that says, okay, we can tap directly into bigger markets on Earth and stick with the Earthlings and let the Martians sort out their own shit. I mean, they're talking about UFOs now and them coming here. I mean, if you were a sophisticated, highly intelligent alien, right, and you come out with your rocket ship and you've got all this technology, what the hell would you park your ass down here for? Got to be joking. I mean, it's such a mess. I mean, and then all of a sudden you get out of your spaceship and accidentally you've rocked up in Canberra and you wander into Parliament House and you see your first person's elbow. Can you believe it? Would be staggering. You'd be back in your ship as quick as you could. You put the seatbelt on and away you go. You'd be flipping out of here real quick into some vortex at the speed of light or more. You wouldn't be sitting here, I can tell you. Anyway, that's for another day on that front, because today was really zooming your heads in on the advantages that Zucoins and SplitChain has, because you've been and suffered through the hard yards of the time it takes to get the back end right. And part of that modelling is now coming to fruition because, well, some people might stay up a bit late at night, and there's a lot of us out there that have got these nice little fluffy pillows, and others are doing the hard work. I can assure you, I don't know how much sleep he gets, but I have tested and worked. Dr. Zoo works late a lot of the time as well, because he's got people all over the world and has to chat and talk at different hours of the day. But Robert Novak, if he got an hour of sleep a night, be a monkey's ass. But this is what runs through his brain, is to set this up, and to see him excited today on quantum and what you're going to get the advantages of, because at least you'll have an extraordinarily amazing protected crypto beyond something you'd even want to get your head on and think about, because we're not thinking about quantum. You've been distracted by a whole lot of things, Iran and wars, immigration and all sorts of stuff that's going on, and the house, and I get all that, fuel and the rest of it. And there we go. We have Robert thinking about the protection mechanism and what's coming, because it is going to be ugly. Ugly. And I just wanted to then go into we've got a number of the risks just to touch on, which you'll see, because we've always compared ourselves to Bitcoin people. And Satoshi, he knows I'm available. He knows Dr. Zoo is keen to get him on the show. And extraordinarily how he stuck and weaved, and it's the old story, people. It's the second mouse that gets the cheese, and we are getting cheese, and more cheese starting to come across our bows in terms of how good we're looking, because of the time we've taken with things and getting it right at the back end. But let me just quickly now touch on some of the exposed risks because of the structure of Bitcoin because of the huge, what we call the Great Wall of Bitcoin. And you know very well what I'm talking about, people. You know I'm talking about the costs and the computing power to process a simple transaction into the blockchain for Bitcoin. It does not make sense. You know, we talked about the great accountants in the year 1500 odd, 1574, that wanted to reduce the volume of data back then for accounting purposes. That's why we come up with double entry accounting, and that's why we created end of year balance sheets, because you don't want to carry all the crap from the last 20 years. That's why SplitChain has the last cache bit of data, which allows it to explode in growth, and especially with quantum creating pressures on the chain itself, and even how to get quantum into play is going to be another extraordinary story, because all these wallies have got to agree with each other, because they are the processing firepower in the blockchain itself. Remember, you have the sovereign power and control with your Zucoin wallet and whoever you deal with. You are in the strength and the position of validating your own transactions, subject to just getting a humble truth confirmation from the split chain. That's the ingenious part of the system. Now, there are risks that they're starting to wake up to. If I was Michael Saylor this afternoon, I'd be listening to Dr. Zoo. No doubt about it. The amount of debt that he has exposure to Bitcoin, and even now he's still underwater. I think the Bitcoin price, let's just check, people, because we don't want any inaccuracies here today. There we go. We've had another 3.92% drop. It's down to 72,000. And Michael Saylor is well under the money, well underwater with the current Bitcoin holdings they have, which have got a lot of leverage. Leverage is a very naughty thing. Brought a lot of great men undone in the 80s and will continue to do so for the rest of humanity. Got a lot of great Romans during the Roman Empire that had massive amounts of debt. And here we go. We've got Jimbo and Albo with $1 trillion worth of debt. So that has brought many a great people and nations undone. And Michael Saylor is no exception. Now, I was talking about that because if Michael had his gurus and guns instead of this short-term exposure that he's got, and I think he snuck up on the number of most in the top 10 anyway of Bitcoins that are held, 830 something thousand Bitcoins. I think BlackRock is now just behind him. There was a list. If you look at that, then of course, people, why would you not take notice of what the impact could be? And he's got absolute zero control over the quantum computing issue. And the risks are as follows. Risk A, theft from exposed wallets. If a wallet has already exposed its public key, we're talking about Bitcoin, right? Not Zucoins. We run a different model. Risk A, if a wallet, Bitcoin wallet, has already exposed its public key, it may be more vulnerable in a future quantum environment, because good old quantum can take the public key, which ironically is floating out there on the blockchains, and it can go back in history way back. So it's not like it can't attack anything. It can do the whole bloody lot. And then once that happens and it starts to smash to bits and gets the private key, it's game over. Bye-bye. Risk B, emergency migration. What does that mean? Well, if the Bitcoin network needs users to move funds to quantum safe addresses, so think about it. You don't just wake up one morning and say, gee, I have a quantum safe address. That's your private and public addresses. It's got to be migrated. Someone needs to help you to do that, or help the entire network. And millions of people may need to act. That in itself creates massive education, wallet support, exchange readiness, and timing problems. Can you imagine? Here we are dumbing things down in Zucoin world so people can press one button instead of copy and paste. And we have 15, or it's actually less than that now. We're probably around about 9.5%. But people can't work that out. How on God's earth are people going to work out what they've got to do to get a quantum safe address for Bitcoin? There's going to be one outcome. The FBI won't need to worry about creating a dummy program there. It'll be just straight out, boom. straight out frauds and all sorts of wonderful things happening that's going to burn people like you wouldn't believe. Risk C, higher fees. Oh, there we go. There we go. There's the old, you can do a Bitcoin right now, 32 decimal fractionalization, 0 network fee cost, people, 0, which gives you absolute distribution firepower, whether it's to merchants, whether it's to peer-to-peer, but not with the old, good old U-Butte Bitcoin. That ain't going to happen. Can't happen because you've got massive fees now. When they run out of mining Bitcoins, the fees will just go up again. You know, think about it. To mine one Bitcoin, look at the cost. It costs about 88,000 US dollars with all that computing power and all that stuff to simply validate and bring into play the latest transaction into the Bitcoin blockchain world. And we're at 72,000. You do not need to be a genius or need a quantum computer to work out the difference between 88,000 US and 72,000 about how much underwater you are. You could use a calculator. Just get it out now. Put in 88 minus 72, and that'll tell you. Actually, and that's about the rough numbers of the cost that Michael Saylor has with the strategy group, MicroStrategy, in terms of how much underwater they are. D, risk D, slower confirmations. If post-quantum signatures make transactions larger, which it will, fewer transactions may fit into each block unless Bitcoin changes the capacity rules or seeks other forks to create design changes. Now, we've been talking scaling and even more so accommodating what we've got already for the firepower that we can introduce, even that increased size because of quantum computing. Not a problem. Hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. And what are we going to do? You're going to see confirmations into Bitcoin. You will be waiting forever, which means you cannot ever get proper utility because people do not want to wait. Look at you guys. Look at Dr. Zoo. Dr. Zoo cannot wait until we get to $1,000 US a coin. Now, we've had to patiently wait, and we're running down that path, but there's that anxiety, that instant gratification. Comes with everything in life, really. So imagine sitting there waiting for that to happen, which means Bitcoin gets spun out into more what they call layer 2. Someone comes up with a U-Butte idea like Litecoin and says, well, we won't put anything into the chain or any ownership proofs. We'll just sort of put it on another layer and trust us. Trust us. We will create an IOU and we will make sure we look after you. So there's your third-party trust content. And it doesn't work. We've got trust in the FBI and people still lost and did their ass. Risk E, lost or dormant coins, old wallets, forgotten wallets, estate wallets, dormant large holdings, may not migrate. Any future rule that sunsets older signatures could create disputes around whether unmigrated coins should remain spendable. Oh, Lord help us. You think you're doing the right thing and you tuck your coins away in a wallet. Not Zucoins, we're talking Bitcoin, people. You think you're okay, you leave it dormant, and it all goes pear-shaped because it hasn't been migrated to the new systems for quantum, which comes back to Ing Dong Dung up there in North Korea with his team, harvest now and decrypt later. Collect all that stuff, which they can easily do off the blockchain, piece of piss, and sit on it. Patiently wait, watch how these things don't move. People get forgetful. It's a bit like bank accounts. You know, every year there's tens of millions of dollars of money that's people, they don't collect. They forget about it. $1,000 here, $1,500 there, but it's still your money. You should still be able to access it whenever you like, or you forget confirmations or logins and all that sort of stuff, and it goes pear-shaped. So that's going to be a huge problem because they are not migrating to the correct quantum wallets. Risk F, network disagreement. This is a beauty. Bitcoin upgrades are required by broad agreement between all of the little participants in there. This is why they call that forking stuff. Probably don't realize, but Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Gold are actually what they call forks, where the developers got together and said, look, we don't like the way that other thing's working, the core of Bitcoin, we'll change it and introduce new codes, and we'll spin off into our own little space. And you end up with 3 different products, all generated from the original, a bit like a tree trunk, people. If you can imagine a little tree growing, a big oak tree, you've got the core of the big stump, and then you've got all these branches out there. And each branch represents a different fork, and, different birds are sitting on one side and all the rest of it. So there you go. That's network disagreement. If they don't agree, there's a real disaster happening as to how that's going to be put in play, because it will be not pleasant. And then you've got other issues like transaction size and blocks. So look, let's just get that'll be out and about. That'll give you something to think about in terms of quantum computing, because that's pretty well, the team has got its mandate behind the scenes. The Flux boys are busy beavering away, fine-tuning stuff and getting ready for the AUSTRAC notification. I'm pretty confident they'll swing into gear on this instant for iPhone users as to the press one button and away you go. And then we can get stuck into that. The Zukaz, Riley and his team are doing a fantastic job. I'm really super impressed with Zukaz V2. And then you're going to see some really good stuff coming out shortly on V2 version, transaction V2 for the Zucoin wallet itself. You may not initially appreciate the firepower of it, but it does include things like expiry times, which allows you to set a transaction and put an expiry as to how long it can be accepted for. That's all about scheduling payments and stuff for down the road. There's still to come is QR code readers, QR codes that will be used between creating the fractionalization of tokens that you can then pump into a QR code and wander down and make that very simplistic in terms of money or the value of the transfer to merchants or others. And also in the book to do is things like the QR code for the actual wallet address as well, in case you have trouble with the downloads. But make sure you back up, people. So that's the main thing on that front. And what have we got? We've got some people excited. We've got talking about being patient, and you are very patient. Don't let me just distract you from not being patient. Patience is a virtue, and patience to become a millionaire is even greater, especially when you just have to sit back and relax and let someone else do the work for you, because that's what this is all about. Just take your time. Just take your time and relax. And it's got here, would be amazed if Zootopia is trading within the next 6 months. Realistically, years away from 1,000. Well, everybody has an opinion. It's wonderful. And at least you're not stressing about worrying about having to spend it sooner than later. So you can enjoy that relaxing time and just take it easy and let things take care of itself. And there you go. You can enjoy that as that arrives. And Mysterious Trailblazer, fantastic. Nah, I'm already a millionaire, but thanks for checking. Well, I'm glad you're a millionaire. That is awesome news. So you don't need to worry about it. That's why you've got so much patience. You've got a lot on your plate at the moment as to making sure that your tax affairs are in order, that you're giving as much as you can as a millionaire to Albo, so that you then can help the National Institute of Measurement. That's where that probably most of your money has gone, which is fantastic. And that's exactly what we like to see. We like to see millionaires coming in to start to play with Zucoins. That's because they don't worry about money. They already have it. Generally, they don't want to share it too much, but generally, that's that they like to make a lot more, and that's what we're all about. We're all about spending our money so we can make your money happen for you and give you an opportunity to put that in play. So fantastic stuff on that front, people. Now, I'm going to focus on Monday. Obviously, any news that comes in straight away, as we've done today, again with AUSTRAC, you've got transparency there. You know what's going on. If they came back, we will press that button. And if it means that we're still not quite there with the instantaneous of the deep links through the Apple iPhone, so be it. That just means there's a group of people that will struggle a little bit in the short term, so be it. People don't seem to worry about that. They seem to want to get on with the job. and get out and about and start the surge on trading, which is awesome. Now we've got another one here, Divine Settler. I'm not even a thousandth there. Long as you're happy. Long as you are happy. If you are happy, it doesn't matter, because you know what? You can't take the stuff with you. You can get out and about and enjoy as best you can. And if you really want to know that there's someone worse off than you, then by all means come down to Albury. We'll take you on a Dr. Zoo tour down the river, and you will see others that are struggling to even have a phone turned on because they don't have anything, and they're living in tents and garbage bags down by the river, because society has shunted that lot. As I've said the other day, we've got war veterans that aren't getting looked after by government. We've got people on NDIS that I know that are now mentally fatigued because they got them into this scenario, and then they worry about the budgets and what they can't pay. There's 1 million people on NDIS, and it costs an average of people 65,000 per annum per person. So the numbers are all get a bit skewy, and then we have governments making wonderful decisions like you're going to see today. Now, I will close. I hadn't had much to do with this bloke. I've seen him on telly, David Shoebridge. Now, what an absolute fruitcake he is. I don't know how in the hell he got into the Greens Party in the Senate, but there is one scary, scary concept, people. This man controls the future of what gets passed, most likely today. Oh, well, it's got to go through the House of Reps, but the Senate and the Greens Party will pass it. And his view was this. He said, look, I don't care about mandates. He said, Albo's a liar. You know, I don't care about the Labor Party. What I care about is the Greens and what we do. And we don't like the top end of town taking advantage of the system by having tax breaks like the CGT and the negative gearing. Now, this fruitcake doesn't realise that if he went out and about and had a look around, which is what Jacinta's been doing door to door, she's starting to get a bit of a handle on how people will think of her. If this bloke went out and realised that there's plumbers and hairdressers and pub owners and restaurants, cleaners, all sorts of small businesses that are affected by the CGT and even negative gearing. It's not about the top end of town. It's about the small businesses that employ the greatest number of people that keep this joint going. And this fruitcake sits there with his $450,000 salary on an 8-year fixed term and has the power to pass this crap because he has this extraordinary view and worry about the millionaires at the top end of town. Now, we've got our main man here. He says he's already a millionaire. Fantastic. Why would you begrudge that? What he should be doing is becoming a 100 millionaire and keep moving. Get that incentive going. That's capitalism, people. That is capitalism. And capitalism feeds back into the system. Otherwise, you wouldn't raise any money across the entire spectrum because everybody would be sitting there saying, let's just go down and, you know, I'm quite comfortable with my $50,000 a year and contribute nothing. No incentive, no motivation, no anything. Or worse still, you end up down by the river in a tent. And quite right. Must be freezing in Albury. It's not too bad today, but you come down here and get a tent and see how you get on. See what happens tonight. Freeze your ass off. Now, at least it's a little bit warmer up there in the Mekong, but let me tell you, sit in Canberra and see how you go. These are the difficulties that we see that happen in our day-to-day lives. But we have an opportunity, people. We're going to take advantage of it. We are going to, as I said, 10 Zucoins. That's going to be the all-time thing to think about. Sit on 10 Zucoins and know that there's been the hard yards and work done to get it so that you can have that opportunity. It may or may not happen, but you're going to have the best shot at it. And that's why we have deliberately targeted the capacity for no fees and charges, massive decimal, 32 decimal points, because it allows the fractionalization to give everybody a chance to come into the game. Doesn't matter if you're sitting in India or South America or Asia, Southern Asia, anywhere you want to be. and you can sit on that little fraction of a Zucoin or build it up and then contribute to it, and then be in a position that you will be able to use it directly with merchants and others without converting anyway. So even if the price of the Zucoins went to $1 million, you will still buy a cup of coffee with a fraction of a Zucoin, everybody. Think about it. And just for good measure, you won't have to worry about the quantum computing taking away your hard-earned winnings, if you like, on that front. So on that happy note, people, I shall leave you with this little bit of, as I do, go the Blues. Now, there is just on that one, go the Blues. I mean, fair dinkum. That was one of the greatest comebacks Dr. Zoo's seen in a long time. He's seen a few. He watched the Netflix series the other day, which I talked about Leicester in the English Footy League in 2016. 5,001 shots and they had a win. Never give up. That is the alligator blood spirit right there, people. The Blues and other things in your life revolve around alligator blood. Alligator blood is a term we named the racehorse Superstar. 7 Group 1s, 9.3 or $4 million in the bank, tax-free. Mate, a lot of that's propped up an enormous amount of the whole building and modelling of Zucoins and SplitChain, you'd be pleased to know. But anyway, tax-free. They don't want to touch racing. Came back from a spinal surgery, half his back ripped out. First horse in the world to win group races, 6 group races with a spinal injury. That's alligator blood. The Blues last night coming back from 20 down, 20-0, winning. It's amazing when you get your head in the right space what you can achieve and what you can do. It is unbelievable, and there are numerous examples. I'm getting a little bit soft here at the moment, but Dr. Zoo had a good look at that Netflix series worth watching. The background on Kylie Minogue. You might love her, you may not. Dr. Zoo loves her. And her background story. What a journey that you would not believe that girl went through, for all the fruitcakes out there that had a crack at her, and then the cancer she had, and then another cancer scare, and on it goes. But alligator blood, true alligator blood. And Saturday, we're going to see whether one of Al's mates from the stable, people, just keep an eye on it. Race 6. This is the closing message here because it's tax-free. If he wins, you'll get a tax-free bonus. I'll never tackle the racing industry because it puts too much money back in the coffers of the states and also the federal government. It's got a massive industry employment, 180,000 people, all of that sort of stuff. And let me tell you this. The amount of excitement that can come from using that alligator blood that you guys have got. And you've got alligator blood because you're taking a risk, you're tenacious, you're resilient, and you never give up. It means it's a poker term. It's a poker term that means exactly that and can be applied for anything. Good old alligator blood. He's got 246,000 followers still. And most of those followers are people that are destitute, have been hard pressed because of money, health, and they put on an alligator blood cap and they say, I'm not going to give up. Don't give up. That's what we do here. Don't give up. It's for not a want of trying, but don't give up. And Saturday, everybody, we're going to see how that might come into play with one of the horses that Al's had a chat to and educate. Sky Glider, race 6. Long odds, 20-1. Look out. We will wait and see what the great Sky Glider can do. It's a win, a must-win scenario. He must win on Saturday in the Fred Best Group 3 in order to get into the Group 1 Stradbroke, which was won by the great Alligator Blood. But the odds are stacked against him. He's drawn barrier 17. He's wide. Timmy Clark's on him. Tim knows he's got a job ahead of him. There is a phenomenal field of great racehorses in that field. You have a look at the list. They are extraordinary. This is tough. Now, someone's just said here, it wasn't a great comeback from the Blues because they're playing against 12. Well, whose fault was that? Did the Blues, sort out the 12? That's what footy's about. You take advantage and you keep going. And by the way, that 12 players was only for 20 minutes. So let's not get too carried away. The Brisbane side had every opportunity before that to make sure that the gap was even wider, and they let it slip even on that last play. So let's just without that persistence, and you don't take advantage, you don't see that window, you don't pick up the pieces, and you don't take it to the next level. That's what we're doing with the quantum now. Everybody's going to be scrambling for life jackets, not us, not Zucoins, not SplitChain. Well, people, on that note, you take care. We shall regroup, and as I said, stick to the alligator blood, show no mercy. Let's get into it.